It was a night like any other, when the rains came harder than they'd forecasted, drenching the small Washington town and causing the creek behind my parents' old house to surge like a miniature river. I had moved back temporarily after my mother passed away. The place had needed someone to look after it, and with my freelance work, I figured I could maintain the mortgage and repairs until we decided whether to sell or not. This unexpected deluge, though, worried me. The weather reports had hinted at a possibility of flooding, so I stayed up late into the night, checking the water levels periodically. The house, a quaint, rustic place built in the 1940s, held countless memories. Its wooden structure creaked with the wind, and the attic, packed with my parents' belongings, always seemed to breathe with its own life. I'd spent many nights exploring its mysteries as a child, but returning as an adult was different. The familiar now felt unfamiliar, shadowed by grief and an eerie stillness. Around 2 a.m., the rain began to calm, but the electricity wavered, causing the lights to flicker sporadically. I made another trip upstairs, flashlight in hand, to check the attic for any potential leaks. The wooden steps moaned under my weight, reverberating in the hollow silence. As I entered the attic, a musty smell greeted me, and I shivered, a reaction to the chill that dwelt in every corner. My parents' things were scattered in half-hearted organization thanks to my earlier attempts at cleaning. Stacks of yellowing newspapers, old photo albums partially open, and forgotten clothing waited in cardboard boxes. I swung the flashlight around, looking for signs of water damage, when the beam caught something odd on the far wall, a section of wallpaper that seemed to have peeled away slightly. Curious, I moved closer. As I reached out to the wallpaper, the floor unexpectedly creaked loudly, making me jump. The noise repeated softly like a whisper, but I assured myself it was just the house adjusting after the storm. I focused on my task, pulling at the loose end of the wallpaper. It came off easily, revealing a small door set low into the wall, roughly the size of a crawlspace entrance. I hesitated, a cold unease running down my spine. I didn't remember this from my childhood, and given its location and size, it seemed too strange. Yet as these things often do, curiosity got the better of me. I knelt cautiously, my breath held tight, and gently pulled the door open. The door revealed a narrow passage, leading somewhere deeper into the attic space, one I'd never known had existed. Like a whisper of forgotten history, the passage called to me, presenting its dusty secret. I debated returning the next day during daylight, but a strange compulsion urged me forward, the flashlight cutting through heavy darkness. Inching ahead, I discovered that after a short crawl space, the passage opened into a small, confined room. It was dim, illuminated only by the erratic beam of my flashlight, and it struck me as a forgotten corner of the world. Inside, there were remnants of old furniture, a small table, a chair tipped over, and puzzlingly, a bed frame pushed against the far wall. This hidden room, undetected for who knew how long, lay in wait like an echo from the past. The air was thick and still, and I stood motionless, listening. In the oppressive quiet, there was something unsettling, like a noise in the periphery of sound, too faint to comprehend but enough to invoke unease. As minutes passed, I shifted uneasily and prepared to leave. That was when I noticed the carvings on the table, initials RB repeatedly gouged into the surface. I touched them lightly, the wood splintered and jagged under my fingers. Was this some forgotten secret of a previous resident? Someone displaced or hidden away? I had backed out, leaving the door slightly ajar with the intention of returning soon for a proper investigation. Something about this room, it felt avoided rather than forgotten. The house's structure, the nearby town records I could access would perhaps offer clarity. That night, sleep evaded me. My dreams, when I finally drifted into fitful rest, were filled with labyrinthine sequences of hallways and shadowy figures that always crept just out of reach. On waking, the vivid remnants of those dreams lingered uncomfortably. I spent the next few days combatively balanced between daily routine and obsession with my discovery. I visited the local library, poring over microfilms of ancient records and town newspapers. Bits of information unfolded, stories of the house's original builder, and hints at family disputes long buried. The deeper I dug, the more compelling the tale became. It appeared that a reclusive man, Richard Bellevue, had constructed the house with his brother, before a series of mysterious incidents led to the brothers' disappearance. Gossip at the time suggested foul play, but without evidence, the case went cold. Richard lived there alone for years before selling it to my grandparents. Questions bubbled in my mind incessantly, poking at me with their sharp insistence. Was that secret room his doing? Had he hidden away after whatever happened between him and his brother? More urgently, why did my parents keep it secret, assuming they even knew of it? A week later, armed with gloves and better lighting, I returned to the hidden room. I hadn't dared tell anyone why I was up in the attic so often, fearing ridicule or dismissive advice. This was something I had to understand alone. The mystery soon deepened disturbingly. Among the dust and decay, I found a neatly wrapped bundle in the crawlspace. It contained old photographs, depictions of the house during its early days, snapshots of Richard and what I assumed was his brother, each aging frame capturing the mundane life of two men who had lived in isolation. But there were also intimate letters, heavily crossed with ink, and scattered journal pages written in an agitated hand. The journal mentioned secret meetings, complaints about unwelcome visitors, and peculiar knocks in the night. I sat there, poring over these artifacts, piecing together a chilling narrative of paranoia and isolation. The unsteady scrawl revealed building fear and accused the brother of betrayal. As I turned a page, one particular line jutted at me with unnerving clarity. The noises have started again. They draw near, scratching at the walls. But it's not him. It never was. Clarity struck me with dread. I had heard those very noises. At night, the house felt alive with subtle creaks and moans, unremarkable until linked to a mind twisted by fear. Despite my resolve, I started sleeping with every light on, startled wakefulness becoming part of my routine. Yet during daylight, I oscillated between rational dismissal of my fears and an inexplicable curiosity encased in dread. Within a few days, exhaustion and the eerie disquiet of the house pushed me towards a decision. Selling the place seemed imperative. I didn't belong there, and nor did my father, since daily matters still carried me to town for business. My quiet existence elsewhere beckoned, one away from whispered history and ghostly silence. By week's end, a more serious storm rolled in. The power flickered once before going out completely, leaving the house wrapped in darkness. Candles and a deteriorating sense of normalcy surrounded me. I stepped across the living room, intent on heading upstairs when a noise, no louder than a breath and no different than a scratch, echoed down from above, simultaneously rattling and enticing. A strange compulsion pushed me forward once more, each step up the staircase echoing uncertainty. The flashlight trembled slightly in my grip as I stopped before the entrance to the attic. The door was closed as I left it, perfectly ordinary yet seemingly watchful. Summoning courage from some hidden well within me, I entered. The attic filled with shadows, drawn by flickering candlelight. The door to the passage yawned open, inexplicably wider than before, revealing its inky black throat. I took a step back, then another, when suddenly a loud crash filled the space as something upstairs toppled. Heart pounding, impulse screamed at retreat, yet logic demanded I uncover the source. Whether Richard or his imaginary warning of them, something remained unsettled. Something needed facing. I hesitated, trapped between instinct and intellect. The room called to me with its silent enigma, bound within dark corners and ancient creaks. In the end, I chose the door, the one that led downwards, to brightness, to transient safety. And as I walked away, I felt them watching. In mornings bright with sunlight, the passageway seemed a mere trick of memory. Shadowed corners could be named and dismissed. But each night brought unease anew, whispering forgotten histories, refusing peace. Deep below layers of normalcy, the questions persist. Who does a house belong to, and how much of the past does it guard within its roots? I suppose that's the parable to this peculiar likeness of haunting. Perhaps when something has lingered too long without touch or truth, it merges with the place and with those daring to remember. As for now, the house is publicly listed, waiting for another amidst the curious and the unwary, each curious bequest alive in the walls through sensations only half perceived. Herein lies the horror of the unexplored, the unsettling notions that creep beyond and behind.